Yeah, as we reach the end of the year, it is also our last webinar of 2021. And we thought to mark the occasion, we would take a moment to look back at all the things that our users created in 2021 and also all the new features that we added that you can now make use of for free, but also on our business accounts. So kind of just a glance at all the new templates and features and projects. And this is by no means a complete snapshot because there was really just too much good stuff to possibly include all of it. So I'm just going to be stepping through a couple of topics. Do feel free to pop any questions or comments in the chat as we go through, and then we can get to those in the end, or if I see them pop up, maybe I can jump in and grab them as we go. And I also have a couple of colleagues with me that are here to answer any questions that you may have. My name is Luisa, by the way. I work at Flourish as head of support and content, and we'll be leading you through our slides. Let me just get rid of this timer. I cannot. Okay, there it goes away. Yes, welcome to our year in review of 2021. We're going to be looking at new templates and features, things that happened in the Flourish platform, new resources that became available to our users, as well as a couple of user projects and some team insights. And as always, with these tea break webinars, you can find any slides and recordings of this session afterwards on our training page, and also any data sets that are used normally, you can find linked there as well. That would be flourish.studio/training. Okay, so I thought since it's the end of the year, we should start with a fun question to get everyone engaged. And I thought I would ask, how many visualizations do you think were created with Flourish in 2021? Feel free to type your guesses into the chat. See if anyone has any guesses. I know it's a very random question. But I thought it would be a good opportunity to show off one of our templates in the next slide. So 8 million. Okay, great. Does anyone else have any guesses? Okay. We have 8 million going. Let's go check if that's correct. This is our number ticker, by the way, one of the many templates that we published in 2021. It was not quite 8 million, but it is in the millions, so not bad. We had 3,367,531 visualizations by 800,056 users. I'm not going to try and pronounce those words, they are too long. But yes, these are the visualizations that were created, and I can't step through all of them, but I did just want to give you an idea of how many things are being created every day, every year in Flourish, and also just give a big thank you to everyone that is using our tool. So let's jump straight next to our templates and features, things that we published or that became available in 2021. And I'll be showing you the example and a couple of blog posts or other resources that are relevant to each topic. So in the beginning of the year, we republished our 3D map template with a new heat map mode, which we can see here in the background, as well as point labels and raster tiles. I'm just going to jump over to our blog post on the topic. The blog post didn't actually get set live until just a couple of weeks ago, but this has already been live in our platform for a couple months longer. We can see some nice examples in the blog, and basically this means that you can visualize the density of your points instead of just the points, and you can also animate them. And you can add a raster-based map to your maps, to your 3D and marker maps, as we can see here. And these are the kind of types of base maps that include a set of images that are stitched together to create the base. Point labels also became available, but I don't have an example for that. Then in our slope chart, we improved the labeling. So in the past, you could only have the labels on the outside, and now it became possible to display them on top of your slopes. And we introduced some overlap detection so that if your slopes were really close together, they wouldn't get displayed on top of each other, the labels, but they would be displayed next to each other or hidden. So I'll show you a quick example. I'm just in our template chooser here, and if I can find the slope chart, then there it is. I'm going to get started with the default starting point. And what happened here, we can see we have a couple of highlighted slopes. If we remove those all, we can see that none of our labels are overlapping. That is one of the new big changes. In the past, if they were displaying on top of each other, you would kind of just have to avoid that by highlighting a select few. And we can decide to display our labels within our lines. Where would that be? Under labels in line. So this is really nice also for small screens because it all kind of remains legible, whereas if we have it on the side, that takes up quite a bit of real estate. So that's a really nice improvement in our slope chart. Then moving on, this was a really big one for us here at Flourish and for our users because it kind of opened up whole new ways of telling stories with Flourish, and that is pop-up panels. We first rolled them out to our projection map, but soon after added them to our cards, scatter, survey templates, and we're currently adding them to even more. And the plan is to kind of have these panels in all of our templates. And I'll show you some examples of these as well. The panels allow you, where in the past, you would just have a pop-up when hovering over your map or your chart. Now you can actually click and then you can get a panel to display additional information. And these are completely customizable, so you can include charts or you can include layouts. You can write your own custom HTML, embed other elements like images, links, videos, whatever you like. So it's almost like having layered visualizations that really allow you to tell richer stories with lots of content. And this was especially useful for telling COVID data stories, as there's usually a lot to kind of unpack and go deeper. Here we have an example with our radar chart, where if you click, we have the panel appearing from the right-hand side. This is a song ranked by the different categories of danceability, energy, valence, beachiness, liveness, and acousticness. And again, we can see this is a completely different panel. It's appearing from the side instead of the middle, and the content can be customized completely. Is this available in the free version? Yes, it definitely is. You can get started at any point from our template chooser. I'll just quickly jump in. If you go to app.flourish.studio/templates, not all of our templates yet have the panels, but the projection map, for example, does. So if I would get started here with my US counties, for example, I could go in and enable my panels within the pop-ups and panels settings here. By default, it's set to pop-up, but I can set it to have both. And then it displays a pop-up. And when I click, it should display a panel. But it is not. Let's see. Well, that is odd. That is how it should work. That is the demonstration effect, as I like to say. I'm probably missing something. There we go. I was doing it for the points and not for the regions. If I set it to both here, I should now get a pop-up and a panel. And then here within the custom content, you can configure what you would like to display in your pop-ups and in your panels. So that's definitely available in our free product as well, yes. And in our blog post, we also have an example with cards where you can use the cards kind of as an entry point to explore more information. Okay, moving on to our slides. Next, we have a spotlight mode in our photo slider template. This is a nice feature that I don't think many of our users are aware of, but I think it's a really fun one, so I wanted to include it. And here's an example of it in use, where in our photo slider template, we have two different photos that we can set, photo 1 and photo 2, and then we can use the spotlight mode to actually kind of function as a flashlight to explore that photo. And here, photo 1 is actually just, if I just view that in a new tab, oh, it actually downloads it. is actually just a grayed out or blacked out version of photo 2. So I can kind of add a layer of dark color on top of one of my photos, and then the lighter version as photo 2, select the spotlight, and then that kind of functions as this discoverable photo slider. You can then also add that to a story and kind of create this nice interactive where the spotlight kind of moves around. We will be focusing on the photo slider in depth in our next webinar on, I think, January 4th. So in the new year, if you want to join us again, we'll be looking at all the different kinds of things you can do with this template. Then we also introduced better data labels in our scatter template. In the past, the data labels were always kind of overlaid on the dots. And now it's possible to actually move them next to the dots, which is a really nice feature. And I have a help doc that I wanted to show you on the topic here, where you can learn all about how that is done. It is called How to Edit the Appearance of Your Labels in the Scatter Plot Template. And here we can see kind of the different options that you have. By default, they're slightly overlaid, but then you can move them to the left, and you can also make use of selective data labels, which is outlined in a separate help doc. Moving on, we have our line layer in the projection map, which was introduced originally to support these disputed borders that we can see here. This came up a lot from various customers, so we decided to add an additional sheet where you can upload your GeoJSON files or your polyline files as a third layer, and it allows you to display disputed borders on a world map, but also you can use it to highlight lines such as rivers or tube lines in the case of London. And the way that this works, as we can see in this GIF here, is that in addition to regions and points, we now also have this lines sheet where if you upload that, it will populate an additional layer that you can then style with different colors and thickness. Next, in our line bar pie template, we introduced improved combo charts. In the past, these were called dual axis charts, where we combine bars and lines. And especially in the context of COVID reporting, they were being used a lot by many of our customers, and people wanted to be able to adjust the maximum and the minimum to kind of match on both the bar and the line. And so we introduced a new mode called combo charts, and I will just quickly jump into the editor to show you. If you select the line and column setting blueprint here, that will take you through to your copy of that visualization. And now you can choose between a single axis or a dual axis. And the difference here is that if you select dual axis, your secondary y-axis will have a different scale than your first one. So if you're using the same scale and you're just using the line, for example, to show the rounded total, then you might want to use the same scale, and you can now do that through this single axis selection here. Moving on, we introduced the template that we saw in the beginning, our countdown and our number ticker templates. In this countdown over here, I'm actually counting down to Christmas, and I'm shocked that it's only 3 days away. I hope you have all your preparations, because I do not. But anyway, we have a blog post on that as well with some more examples that I'd like to show you, where you can see that you can also add images. You can do this via custom HTML. Here, this is an example of our countdown template, which lets you count down to a date, and our number ticker lets you count up to a number, as we can see here, where we're counting up to the vaccinations that were given as of June. This is really easy to use. So if I just jump into one of these examples, I can show you how this works. Our countdown template looks like this. All you have to do is input a date, so a day, a month, and a year, or even a time. You can kind of configure it as far down to the second. And then you can add in your image if you'd like, if you select custom display style. And our number ticker is just as easy. I actually have an example here in my profile about the number of visualizations, views, and users that we had in 2021. And you can just select between simple, where you have just a single number, and custom, where again, you have the ability to customize this with custom HTML styling. You could also add images, whatever you want. So these were two really handy templates that we released in summer. And it's been really great to see all of the visualizations that are being created with these already. Just taking a look at the chat, because that seems to be quite busy. See a south at the top, world map projection. Yes, interesting point. We have quite a few projections. I'm not sure if we have one that is kind of upside down. I know there's one that we recently came across called the polar stereographic projection to have Antarctica only. But anyway, I will move on in the slides for now. Another new template that we introduced in summer was our pictogram template. Just jumping across into the blog for this one as well. This was also a really frequently requested one. It allows you to visualize your data in pictograms as multiple bars, a single stacked bar, or also several stacked bars. You can also upload your own icons and make use of pop-ups, just like in other templates. And here we kind of tried to recreate this nice example by Otto and Marie Neurath, where we transformed a basic bar chart on the topic into a pictogram. And as you can see, you can also use filters, and it comes with all the legend functionality, just like other Flourish templates. So this was another great win for Flourish in 2021, a wonderful new template to add to the collection. This is also free for everyone to use, and you can access it via the template chooser. Then while we are on the topic of new templates, we have yet another one to add, which is the sports race, where we can see here an example of it used to visualize runners on a track. We developed this one, or specifically some of our development team, actually, this is all of their names that we can see racing here. They developed this together in a mob programming fashion, and it was ready just in time for the Olympics. And what it allows you to do is visualize any sports track with any sports racers. I'll just quickly grab the blog post on the topic. I hadn't opened that one. And display your participants and your track to cover the different sporting events. So here we have the running one that we've already seen. You can also select a swimming track as well as a cycling track. And again, you can upload your own, and you can display custom medals at the end to show like who's first, second, and third. Just going to give this a second to see if it does it. Yeah, there we can see Duncan won. Duncan is our CEO, thus he had to win the cycling race here. So that's an example of the sports race template, which was also very fun to see in use by lots of our users. Then we added a new mode to our line chart race template, which we can see here, which basically reveals the outcome of the race as you go. In the past, you could always only see kind of the entire duration of the track. So having like 0 to 100 in the y-axis at the top. But here we can actually just see those different laps as we go. And that makes it really exciting and engaging, and you really want to know what's going to happen next. Will Valtteri Bottas win, or will he not? I do not know. But there is now a new reveal mode. And for this one, also a fun blog post to explore the different features. This is what the new setting looks like. You can select from all, zoomed, and reveal again. What it does is it kind of unfolds these stages as you go. Here's another example where we are looking at internet access in the world's most populated countries. Another thing that we did is we added captions. So in the past, it wasn't possible to add captions to your line chart race, but now it is. And the way you do that, if I just jump into that visualization, is that there is now a second sheet, which is the captions sheet, and you can input a from and a to column and the caption that should display with it. You can also configure this to include an image, just like in our bar chart race template. And yet another new template. This one is our Gantt template, ideal for project planning, timetables, and more. We had a tea break webinar on this new template a couple of months ago, so feel free to check that one out. This also comes with filtering, pop-ups, panels, everything else that you also know from other Flourish templates. Here's the blog post to go with it, where you can learn a bit about the history of the Gantt template, but also explore this beautiful example that my colleague Olivia created, showing the members of the band Fleetwood Mac throughout the years. So this is a really fun use case for this template to show the timeline of a band, for example. Or we also created one for the different Flourish employees over time, just to give you some ideas for the kinds of things you might want to use a Gantt for. And finally, I think this is the last template that we released this year, our word cloud. This one has been in the works for quite some time, also heavily requested by our users around the globe. And it basically lets you input a bunch of text or a data sheet of text, and then size those words that are most frequently used in that text larger. And you can choose from different layout options. So you can either have kind of lots of different word angles, like in this example, or you might want to only have 2 different word angles, like we can see here, where we're looking at the most common words of War and Peace. And you can customize things around spacing and animations. So this is also a nice example of how you can use a word cloud in a Flourish story and animate between the different slides and use the coloring to kind of keep the attention on the different words. Okay, so that was all my template updates, and I'm already at 24 minutes past, so I'm a little bit slow, but there's too much to cover. So I'm going to jump straight further to the platform changes. So this is lots of changes that happened that might not be as visible to our users or as visual as a visualization template, but that are very powerful and important, especially when it comes to our companies. We made lots of new things possible. For example, companies can now enable multi-factor authentication on a company level. They can choose their approval policies to apply on publication and on republication. They can require certain password rules for their entire company, and they can now set up their own SSO if they have that enabled as part of their enterprise company. We also made it possible to display your projects as a list, which we can see here. Added a new full window mode for showcase pages, made it possible to display custom fonts in stories. This is also only relevant for business and enterprise customers. We improved the right to left support. So for languages that are not English and that are not read from left to right, that is now much improved. We also made our template settings more accessible so that you can tab through them with your keyboard. And we improved our data merging, which I also have a blog post about to point you to. So I will just quickly grab that one from here. It's actually our latest one that walks you through how you can get started with one of our map templates and merge in your data and the different settings that you can choose to do that. This is much improved and much smarter than it used to be. Then we also made it possible for our enterprise customers to use iframes as a basis for creating their scrollytelling pieces. We created a published visualization API endpoint for users of our API, which is quite the transformative workflow for those that do use the API. So if you do get in touch to ask us more about this. We introduced a stable image URL for published projects, which means that you can just access a thumbnail image of your project and that will stay the same. You can also clone published visualizations into the SDK if you use the Flourish SDK. This is more on the technical end of the Flourish universe. And we also brought in analytics as an enterprise bolt-on. Again, if you're interested in hearing more about that, please get in touch. Then we are stepping straight on into the world of resources and what we created for you to use. So we introduced a new blog series, our master series, where we look at what great visualizers of our times or also past times have done and try to recreate it with Flourish and learn about that chart type. So we had one with John Byrne Murdoch and one with Martin Lambrechts and one with Webb Dubois. So do check those out. You can learn a lot about data visualization and best practices as you go, and also just learn maybe about a new chart type. We also blogged about data visualization best practice quite a bit this year, which is great. So things like how to make your charts more accessible, how to create compelling visualizations, how to visualize one data set in 10 different ways, and like helping you choose the best visualization type for your data and things like that. And we introduced a training platform for our business and enterprise customers. If you have not yet been invited to join this training platform, that will be happening in the new year. But if you'd like to have access before then, do let us know and we'd be happy to add you. We basically have different courses for our business and enterprise customers that are on demand, so you can kind of consume them as you go and as you need them. And we opened these tea break webinars to the wider public. In the past, these were also only for our business and enterprise customers, but now since this year, they've been public and it has been a joy. And you can check out all of them on our resources page here at flourish.studio/resources/webinar. We also wrote a bunch of help docs, which you can always access over help.flourish.studio, or directly in the app. You have a little speech bubble icon in the bottom right where you can click on it and get help docs to display that are relevant to the template that you're in. And not quite last, but almost last but not least, I have a bunch of customer examples. I'm kind of running out of time. I'm going to try and show a couple. We've grouped them by topic, and again, we will have these slides available for you to explore after the session, so you can check them out there. And we will also be publishing a year in review blog post with all these visualizations, so you can check them out there. But just wanted to showcase some of the incredible work that our users around the world have been creating. So we have a couple of nice charts and maps on the topic of COVID, as this has obviously been relevant in 2021 as well. So we have everything from a projection map to an area chart to a bar chart race. I'm not going to click into any now just because I'm running out of time, but I will give you time to explore those on your own with the link to the slides. Then we also collected a bunch of examples on the topic of kind of politics and societal news. So there were lots of elections in 2021, in local UK elections, but also Biden's first 100 days and 10 charts by Refinitiv, for example, or the EU's work to tackle terrorism. We had a piece about the Pandora Papers by Finance Uncovered, where they used a 3D map to animate over time, and many more. And then we have lots more examples on the topic of sports and economy. So we have some nice examples by The Economist in here, by McKinsey about the economic state of Black America, but also things like a baseball player's journey to 500 by Detroit News, and some beautiful examples by Continentalist, as usual, who are always doing incredible work with Flourish. So thank you to everyone for creating all these wonderful projects. And we have even more. Another big topic has been climate change and the climate emergency, also around COP26 this year. So quite a bit of coverage happened there, which again, I invite you to explore once we publish the link to the slides. And finally, the last slide that I just briefly wanted to touch on to kind of end this webinar on is the Flourish team. We actually doubled in 2021. So we can see here everyone that is colored in pink, joined us in 2021, which is just about the same amount of people that there were before. So that is an incredible growth. So we've been going through lots of changes, and we moved into a new office, and it's been wonderful. And thank you to everyone also on the Flourish side of things for helping us create and grow and become better and bigger and everything. And with that, I thank you very much for attending today's webinar, and I'm going to take a quick look at the chat. I think we're all good in terms of questions, but yeah, apologies for racing through that a bit at the end, but thank you for following along and for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing what you create. Do share.